What's life like in you right now as we come together? What's it like being you? Does this aliveness move in your system? Is it like a frequency, a vibration? Is it a flow? Is it more a sense of, oh, there's just like in the river, something's a little stuck, a little contraction. And this you, where is it? Where are you? You're like, oh, that's a stupid question. I'm here. I'm kind of in my head or I'm in this body. Where are you? What are the boundaries of the you? What's it like? There a bubbly enthusiasm as we see each other, and it's very like, oh, what's going to happen here? Is there some nervousness? Gosh, I hate it when Sid calls on me. I don't know what I'm going to say. Like, what's here? And then as we notice this being, this self, or however it appears in you, how does it appear in you? What's what's the presence like? What's the okayness like? Most like peace here now. I'd like just to be aware of all of this, all of you, what we call the background, the sky, the beingness, however that is, this presence, this awareness, this peace, this flow, all the precious expressions of life in you, the sense of, oh, can't believe I could be watching Netflix right now or doing work, and instead I'm choosing to come and be on this video. It's like to notice what's coming up, or I haven't eaten breakfast yet. Maybe an understanding expression inside, like, what's this all about? What's it's talking about, or what's coming up in me? How is this meaningful or helpful? Is it just a lot of words? Two more questions. As we notice the foreground, the thoughts, feelings, and sensations that we can label as parts, life that arises in us, what are the loudest two expressions in you right now? Maybe it's a sense of, okay, I just want to get settled. I want to be here now. I want to feel the connectedness, the presence. Maybe there's some discomfort here, some resistance, or an understanding part. What are the two loudest expressions of life in you right now as the foreground, as parts? You can notice the two loudest. As you notice them, sometimes one might be a reaction or response to the other. Can we be aware of both of them in one view or in one somatic experience? And then I guess I had more than two questions. And this question is, as you notice these expressions, these parts, what are they like? Like if they're like your hands, are they tight? Is there a holding? Are they tight? Or is it more relaxed and open? What's your sense of these arisings? For some of us, there's a sense of a should, and it's tight. You should. And it's a kind of can be an authoritative voice. Is there How dense are these expressions in you? How dense, how tight, or how open and transparent? How are you aware, what are you aware of them as? And is there the possibility that there's kind of a spectrum that arises, that they can be known differently? And then where we're going to kick off is, what is it that these expressions in you are longing for? What's being longed for as you hear, I've got work to do today. I'm hungry. I don't really understand where he's going with this. What is it that they're longing for, these expressions of life that are arising in us? Or if it's easier, what are you wanting? What are you longing for? It's the same. What are you longing for? I'd like to go around as we get to explore this together with the seven of us today. Go around and maybe kind of celebrate what's arising in you and what is being longed for. So that's my question for each of us. Really, what is being longed for? What is it that you want? What is it that your parts are longing for? Like, is it, as you hear them, is it peace, love, connectedness, flow, ease, okayness, stillness, silence, aliveness, meaning? What is it that's being longed for? And as you're with that, as you're with this hearing and listening for what's being longed for, let me just do the housekeeping really quickly. That, as you all know, I'm a mediator, not a psychotherapist, and this isn't the IFS of psychotherapy. Whether it's friends and colleagues exploring together, if everyone's good being responsible for their experience and their journey today, if I could get a thumbs up, please. And then my other keeping is that, as always, I've got the recording on, but only my square, only my image could be shared. However, what you share, what you say might be included, because often I share these for others who couldn't come and make them available. And if there's anything that you share that you have any discomfort with, just let me stay on the end and let me know, and I'll go delete on that. Everybody's understands that and is good with that. If I could get a thumbs up from you, please. Thanks, everybody. So let's go around. Let's go around and hear, what is it that your parts are wanting? And I'm just going to kind of go with the order that everyone shows up on my screen. You're always welcome to pass, and then I'll try to stay in that order going around to make it really easy. So I would go like David, Mary, Campbell, Debbie, Nicole, and Mary Lise. David, what are you finding?
The words are hard because there's two sides to it, and the what's being longed for is somehow resolving them because they don't fit together. Well, let me say, it's like I give up, I surrender. I mean, there's one flavor to it which is like, well, it borders on a kind of a hopelessness, like abandon hope, all ye who enter here. It's sort of like uh, the emotion is negative. But the other side of it is, okay, whatever. It's like, it's all okay that that I give up. It's okay that I give up. And it's like they're not fitting together. So there's this other part that comes up. It's like, this doesn't make any sense how they don't. It's like one thing, but it's not gelling, if you will. And
Question. Question. This that is kind of giving up a bad surrendering. This that surrenders. What is it that it wants? Why does it surrender?
what does it surrender?
No, this that does surrender. This that
Yeah,
does just relax and surrender, gives up. What is it that it's wanting in that surrender? Why is it surrendering?
because it knows moments when the surrender is wonderful, when the surrender is loud, but allowed. But there's other moments where it's like seeking, getting tired of all this looking for, searching.
So what is this wonderfulness that's found? And just for all of us, as we hear David say that sometimes there's surrender, there's wonderfulness here. What is that wonderfulness in you? What's that flavor of that in each of us? Is it present? Is it peace? Is it bliss? Is it okayness? And David, that's two questions. That, and then you say, then there's seeking that comes. What's the seeking? What does it want? And for all of us, this it seek. Sometimes we call it kind of a spiritual seeker part. Like, what is it wanting in you? What's that voice wanting? What do you find, David?
Uh, the letting go of trying to figure it out.
And when it does that, when it lets go, when we let go, for all of us, when our parts let go of trying to figure it out, what is found or what is wanted?
I, I look at and there, I find nothing, but it's a good, it's a full, rich kind of nothing, which doesn't make sense, but there it is. And
So how
also,
about
as
that?
we're
Wait, how about that for all of us? When we hear David say it's a rich, full nothing, what is that? Like, look at Mary. It's like she knows this. She knows this rich, full nothing. Campbell, like, what's the rich, full nothing in your experience, in you? And the gift of being here together. If you're like, I have no idea what David's talking about, this rich, full nothing. We have David's words, but we also have his being. It's like we have this tuning fork, like we can tune in. Oh, that's what you mean by rich, full nothing. Oh, I get it. What's that rich, full nothing for all of us? Or what do we experience as in David? David, I'm sorry I cut you off.
no, that's good. I just wanted to, the only thing that I would add, you kind of alluded to it early, but it's really coming alive here. There's the unbidden arising of awareness of the sensations of the body. It's like buzzy, fuzzy, electric, moving, indistinct, but very real. Indistinct. I can't, there's not a precision about where it's all going down, but it's very alive. Does that make any sense, Heather?
Does this make sense for us, what David just described? This electric, buzzing, aliveness in the body. And then, yeah, and here's my question for David and for all of us. What is it that we want? As David's describing the seeker part, different parts, and the surrender, what is it that your parts are wanting? Is it that? Is it the electric buzzing aliveness? Is it that nothingness? Or is it more that wonderfulness word you shared? What is it that's longed for?
Love.
And then for all of us, as we hear that, what's being longed for in David's system from his parts, he just had one word for it: love. See if you can feel that in David, or kind of notice that this part, this expression in him that's longing for love. And as you notice this in David, can it evoke or touch this that is love in you, in us? This love that's being longed for in David. What is the response in you? Can you find, oh, that's already here. I know that. This love. Oh, it's a celebration that we're not alone in this. As David feels this longing for love, notice that longing in your system, Dave. David kind of evokes the love that's here, just like a child that's sitting in the corner. That's like, I want love. It's like, notice what happens as a parent. We come over, it just evokes that from us in our humanity. Do we find the same thing in David? Can we find this love, and that we are this field of love together? David, before we go to Mary, any kind of final words with this?
Yeah, it's been fun walking down this path. It keeps changing. There's a kind of a almost a tearful gratitude, which is uh, it's not separate from the love, and the love's kind of arrived. Kind of working with you folks, so
Wonderful.
it's all good. I don't know.
That's your, I'm quoting you. Wonderful. Yay. The love has arrived. So for all of us, part of our exploration today is just is hearing that which is longing for happiness and fulfillment or peace in each of us. These precious parts, the life that's moving in us. And then we're finding together the fulfillment, the okayness, the peace, that in love, we're becoming more intimate with that which is already here as our nature. And I say that, but really we're just celebrating how life moves in each of us, and what's, oh, I need to move around for Mary Lise, yes. We could all. Mary Lise said she needs to move around a little bit. We appreciate that. I mean, this was really heavy going on that little journey, the journey with David where he took us. That was a lot. Woo. Oh, we have parts that are like, God, we're just starting, and what's going on here? That's a lot. You just relax and just, here we are. Noticing what's here for us, and maybe just how are you? How are you with your parts, with what's arising? What's here for you now? What's here for each of us? What's here? What's arising from David? Like, gosh, that was a lot. Or, wow, that was really cool. I want to know that love the way David knows it, or that wonderfulness, or that nothingness. What arises? And then what's the beingness, the self that's already here, the peace, the love, the fulfillment that's here? Because in a moment, we're going to go to Mary and just see how life is moving in her. But before we do that, can you join me in a curiosity? It's like, whoa, how's it all moving in Mary? What's here? And then, is it just her square? Are we just meeting Mary and hearing about Mary? Or perhaps that none of this human experience is foreign to us? that what she points to, perhaps she's really pointing to what's alive, what's our systems as well. All right, Mary, you're up.
Well, I don't know if this is appropriate or not, Sid, but David, I'm just so excited for you. I mean, this is just I'm really excited as I hear you talk about it because it's beautiful. So yeah, so there's excitement and there's yeah, kind of I'm a little unfocused this morning for some reason, and that's okay. I'm not feeling like I should be focused. I'm just noticing there's not really, maybe because I don't really have any problems that I want to focus on really, but everything's good.
Oh, how about that, Mary? How about what Mary just said when she says, I don't really have any problems I want to focus on? How does that land in each of us? Before she continues, it's like, when did something become a problem? And what is the problem? Is the problem, oh, my back is hurting. Oh, I have so much I have to do today. What makes it a problem? Or is the problem that which responds to it? All right, take us away, Mary.
uh yeah, it's a all is well. I'm really feeling a lot of appreciation. You and I did a session a few days ago, and I'm that the afterglow from that is and the deepening of that is I'm experiencing that, and just really a lot of gratitude, a lot of it's almost like I'm getting stopped mid-sentence with judgment. I'll start to judge either myself or somebody else or something in the news or whatever. And it's like, nope, that's just parts. And it's like it stops me mid-sentence from even going there. And it's just, I'm very excited about um, the effect it's having. And there's just, yeah, I'm just like, it's good.
Hmm. How's that? How's that for us as we hear Mary? And how are you doing in receiving the gift that Mary's offering us? How close are we? How intimate are we as Mary shares? And as you heard her speak of the judgments that come up, and then they just kind of stop mid-sentence, how does that play in you? There's a curiosity here. It's like the judgments that come up. What is it that they're wanting, Mary? What motivates the judgment that arises?
Uh, Probably to be right. And it's to rule the world, to control the world, to have it be like I think it should be, which is so charming. Um, so yeah, there's still those little knee-jerk
How about
sputterings.
how about that? These knee-jerk sputterings. For all of us, with what Mary just said, to be right, to to rule. That's the song. It's to rule the world,
Maybe not quite that
control the
dramatic, but
world,
that gets the point across.
for things to be as they should be, or just for this control. For all of us, as whatever our version of it, it might be like to rule the world, might not be how it comes out of us, but it might be different. The control, have things be the way they should be,
I said the way I say they should be.
the way I say they should be. We can all relate to that, right? We have to just turn on the news, and in my system, I'll hear that voice come up the way it should be, the way I believe it should be. What's As we hear that in our systems, What's being longed for? What's being longed for? To be right, to have control, to have things be the way they should be. What's being longed for there in all of us? And Mary, what do you find that's being longed for?
I think it's safety. That a sense of safety is kind of where a lot of stuff is hitting me lately. Wanting safety, wanting to feel safe.
Does that resonate in our systems? For Mary's, as she hears this, the wanting control, wanting to be right, things should be different. I want them to be, it'd be better if they were different. Sense of what's being longed for is a sense of safety. Can you find expressions in you that are longing for safety? We find this very common in IFS, this longing for kind of this safety. Can you find that? And then you know where I'm going to go with this. You all know where I'm going to go with this. What's most like safety that's here now in all of us? And for some of us, it might be like, what are you talking about? Safety isn't here. Safety, but just what's most like it? Most like safety. For some of us, maybe it's presence. There's presence here. In that presence, there's okayness. There's something I can rest in. There's flow. There's space. What's most like safety that's here now? Mary, what do you find that's most like safety?
Just dropping in to my heart chakra, and just dropping there, and it just is rest. It's just relief and rest and stillness.
Beautiful. What for all of us, what's our version of that? In Mary, it's like, let's just go into this heart chakra. There's rest, relief, and stillness here. Be a sense of sanctuary. For some, we call it home. What's it for you? And then as we hear, again, we hear Mary's expressions of these parts. I want to be right. I want control. I want the world to be different the way I believe it should be. As we hear her parts, can we find an endearment towards them? As we hear her parts that are longing for safety, can we find an endearment towards them? An innocence in this, an innocence in her expression, in her parts. And as we hear that, can it also help evoke some of that safety in all of us, whatever's most like the safety, this relief, this rest, this stillness, whatever it is for you. Maybe we can even feel it as a field as we get to know this safety together. And Mary's parts are welcomed, not just in this rest in her heart, but then in what's evoked in all of us in this shared space. And so, one last question, Mary. These little judgments that come up that we've been focusing on, can they sense that they're not alone, that there is this heart space, this stillness, this ease that's here, this safety, this place of rest there in you, and also perhaps resonating and shared in this space with all of us? And what's that like for your system, your parts, your expression, your contraction, your want to rest in that, to know that that's here? And what's that like for all of us as we find a resonance with Mary's parts that would like more control, like more safe, like the want control, be right, things to be different, that are really longing for safety? Can our parts, our contraction, our resistance, our want, can we feel that we're not alone? that this presence, this okayness, this welcoming is here. What's that like? I mean, is it like kind of resting on a mattress? Is it like being held by a maternal love? What's it like? What's it like to experience this ease, this safety? And if you're not finding it in parts, it could just be with your body. What's it like for you to know that there is this here? Mary, any final words on this journey you've taken us on?
Just that the ways you were talking about the connection with the air, everybody here and what we're the space, just that it's okay to be human. It's okay to, have these needs. And so I don't have to be perfect and it's okay. So thank you.
Thank you. And did you guys see Debbie's enthusiastic this nod on that one? This is something Debbie and I have in common. It's like that, wow, what if they don't need to change? What if it truly is okay? And what if we can even celebrate these innocent aspects of us? It's like, no, I want to be right. I want control. I want the world to be different. If we can really see the innocence of that and celebrate that expression of life, and just what Mary's saying, yeah, well, it's okay. It's okay for this to be here. It's okay for what she's calling these little judgments that pop up to be here. And perhaps it goes even further than okay. Perhaps for some of us, it can go even further than that. We can just be like, we can just like love it. And we see the innocence and the beauty and the humanity of it, or what Dick Schwartz in IFS says, there's no bad parts. Everything that arises is there to support us. It's doing the best they can. I know this is a lot, and we're going to pause in just a minute, but just what's that last piece like for you? That possibility, that everything that arises in you, just like what Mary's pointing to, it can be okay that it's here. And then it can go beyond that to what Debbie and I enjoy, this sense of it's more than okay. It's what's here. It's what life is. It's who I am. It's this expression of me. It's this expression of this. Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot. We get to, Campbell, we do a little movement thing for us. Get us. What's
Yeah, I'm feeling like the need to seaweed. I have the laptop on my my lap, so the screen is gonna seaweed. But what if you were just to imagine being underwater and it's like you can just breathe effortlessly underwater. Where would it carry you right now? How would it carry you? Letting the waves wash through any direction, all directions, no directions. Thanks, Sid.
Yeah, thank you, Campbell. Oh my gosh. I think that my screen changed in the order of everybody, but I think it was yeah, I get confused. I think it was anyway, I think I'll go Campbell, Debbie, Nicole, Mary Lisa, and sorry if I got mixed it up. But before we go to Campbell, how's everybody doing? How are we doing? And is there anything else after being the seaweed and the flow of the ocean? Is there anything that wants to be shared? Because this is a lot what David and Mary just took us on. Anything that's wanted to be shared before we open a whole new page and meet our friend Campbell?
Well, I'll mention something that as each of you shared, new parts became more foregrounded for me. So the original inquiry of, what's loudest here, it felt like I was being taken. There's just been this symphony of like, oh, well, now this is available and wants to kind of be noticed. Oh, wait, now it's this. And the I can't remember the whole journey, but Mary, since you mentioned the safety, I was like, oh, I have a part that really is feeling unsafe. And so I just really want to thank you, Sid, for helping point that part back to the sense of safety, because it's felt pretty separate lately. So that felt really soothing to reconnect. So thanks for that.
Thank you. Anything else bubbling in us before we meet Campbell? And lastly, as Campbell spoke of, she had a part really didn't feel safe, was yearning for the safety. Is there anything like that happening in our systems right now? It's like, wow, I'm enjoying this. This is fun. That was amazing being in the ocean as the seaweed. But then there's some anxiousness that's here, or there's some stress, or there's a should, or that there's just something's not okay here. Notice that something like that is occurring in you. And what is that expression? What's it longing for? Is it wanting to go back into the ocean as a seaweed? Is it wanting flow? Is it wanting ease? Is it wanting peace? Is it wanting this love that David speaks of? It's being longed for in you. What are you longing for? And what's most like that which is here now? Em, I'm so happy you're here. This is really, I had the most wonderful time in Costa Rica with my friend Campbell. And here she is with us. Yay.
Yay. Yeah, I feel an excitement about being here. Finally, I've been trying to come and haven't been able to come yet. Yeah, I'm finding as I look, my system just cleared out. It's so funny. Movement for me, it just washed away. There was something that was kind of sticky, like a good girl anxiety of like, uh-oh, I was clear about what was there, and there was a muddiness. And I was like, I'm not going to be able to express the muddiness. I noticed that like good student, good girl kind of come up. And so there was this little anxiety in the throat and the heart. And then I seaweeded and then it's just gone. So I'm like, you know, I find that fascinating. How's that possible? Right? That it's kind of here and then it's like just washed away and there's more openness and settled. Yeah. And what was so strong before isn't here.
What is here?
What's here?
And just
Yeah, right.
for all of us, what's here? What's here as Campbell's about to share what's here for her. And before she shares that, what do you feel in her as you resonate with this space, as we're exploring together? Like, what's here in Campbell, or what's here in you? In a moment, she's going to tell us what's here in Campbell. Did we get it right?
Yeah, it's like I want to say it's like a fountaining, but not up. It's forward and open. There's this opening, kind of like a banana peeling, but it's much more fluid and spacious. I'm like, whoa, there's that spaciousness. It's like I can just feel breathing off of my arms right now out, and that was not here. So there's the surprise about the spaciousness and this opening, like, woo, it's so big. I mean, I really feel surprised all of a sudden by it.
Hmm.
And it's just so yeah, it's very pleasant. Like I feel like a little teariness of the tender. It's like, oh yeah, this is very nourishing.
Let me just pause everywhere for a moment for everyone here with what Campbell's sharing. So as we got to enjoy, so much of this is becoming more and more intimate with what we call self, some paths called being or true nature. Become more intimate with it, and we get to support each other and help each other in finding it and diving in and sinking into it. As David did with his love, his nothingness, his wonderfulness. As Mary did as she dropped into the heart with her, that ease, that okayness. And then as Campbell is sharing with us now, this spaciousness, this aliveness, this fountain that also in me resonates as so somatic when she says it's coming out of her arms. As you hear her speak, as you feel her, what is that touching in you? Is there anything that's opening new in your system as we're getting to know being through Campbell, as she's being our guide through sharing her system? It's almost like a musical tune on the piano. We can vibrate with and get to know it and intimate. How deeply can we feel it? How open are we? How to receive the gifts of resonating with what Campbell's sharing with us? What's that like? And it's okay. So maybe there's a part, and for some of us, maybe there's a part that's like, yeah, Sid, that's nice, but I'm tired. Or wow, I really have something I need to say, or gosh, I have so much work I have to do today. And we just notice the parts that are here. And then here we are with Campbell. Tell us more, Campbell.
Yeah. It just, I feel like I'm stepping out into, it's hard not to use the visual of being in Costa Rica, actually, with walking out into the ocean, right? It's like you walk out into it and it's just so big and it kind of takes you. That's what it feels like right now. There's just this invitation. It's like there's plenty of room to breathe. Yeah, a lot of space and it's like knowing yourself as bigger, beyond. Those words don't really, they feel not complete, but yeah, it's refreshing. That's the word. It feels so refreshing.
So let me check in with us for a moment as we hear this from Campbell, the refreshing, this bigger, this refreshing, that perhaps her parts feel the sense of refreshing in this invitation of the ocean, the invitation of the spaciousness. How does your system respond? Is it refreshing, or is it like, whoa, this is too much, or I don't understand this, or wow, that's beautiful? Just like notice what's coming up in you with this. And just as Debbie and I were pointing to with this, is that okay? Is that lovely? Whatever's coming up in response in us. And just before, maybe see if Campbell has a little bit more, but before we go there, since we haven't heard from Nicole, Debbie, and Mary Elise yet, I just want to, is there anything that's wanting to be said as far as how this is going for you? Because we're diving deep into this being called with Campbell. Mary Elise, anything you'd like to share? Any kind of tidbit, anything popping up before we get to meet you in a few minutes?
Not at this moment.
No.
Thank you for calling me.
It's not fair also. She's just like relaxing. She's probably wherever she is, like that I call on her out of the blue. And then let's go to Debbie and Nicole just to see how everything's going. How's it going, Debbie, before we hear a little bit more from Campbell?
Oh, yeah, I definitely have parts that are like going, oh, this is all lovely, but I have parts that just want me to be more grounded, so in the earth. So yeah, I mean, that's just what's going on with my system.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Can we all relate to that? Isn't it? It's just what Debbie's sharing, and just also appreciate speaking for our parts. Do any of us find like, wow, that was so cool what Debbie did? That she spoke for parts that were like, this isn't working for me so much. I want the earth. I don't want to be like lost. I don't want the big spaciousness. And do you have parts that were like, gosh, I wish, I wish, I wish I would be spoken for the way Debbie spoke for her parts? Can you have parts like that? I want to be included. How about Nicole? How's it going there? Just to check in. How you doing before? Because we're get to you soon. But what's going on?
Yeah, I have a mix of parts for sure. I have the joyous parts that are celebrating, and I have other parts that are like, that's not quite where I'm at right now. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at. But such a good reminder that I love all those parts, even the ones that are kind of, yeah.
Thank you. And without a sense of a should for any of us, it's almost like Campbell and I would walk down to the beach at sunset, and it'd be the sunset and the expansiveness of the ocean and the warmth of the ocean. And as she's describing the spaciousness and the pull of that and feeling the beach underneath our feet, as she's describing this, can there be some enjoyment of it, some resonance with it? Or perhaps not. Perhaps parts are very clear. No, I want the earth. I want the groundedness. Notice how that plays in each of us. Campbell, gosh, I wish we had, this is what's so unfair. Like we have an hour and a half where I'd like to have an hour and a half with each of us sharing what's here. Campbell, how would you like to bring this all together for us in what you're sharing before we go to Debbie?
Yeah, I think the last thing right now is, since that groundedness was dropped in, I feel like there's this horizontality that's very grounding to it. So I'm sensing that right now and really appreciating that. Feels like I'm not floating away. It's like just stretching and resting into that. So something kind of shifted, and I'm enjoying that. So thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, Campbell. Thank you. But before we go to Debbie, if the body needs to stretch some, or just like a part that's really tired and exhausted, like that was a lot to travel with Campbell into that spaciousness. Just notice, how are you? Notice, how are you? And that's kind of a loaded question, and that we're really curious, like, what's your inner world, your inner cosmos? How are you as we become aware of our parts that are here, and also aware of the space that they arise in? And what is the space in you that they arise in? It's more like the earthiness, the groundedness that Debbie's describing and Campbell was describing at the end. Or is it more like the invitation of the ocean, the spaciousness is bigger? Or is it more like the nothingness that David described? More like the love that David described? Or more like just a space of okayness that Mary described, a sense of acceptance and okayness with what is? What is the space in you? Hey, Debbie, what's going on?
Thank you, everyone, for sharing. I really appreciate it. Everybody's, because I have parts. I'm noticing I have parts that I think I expressed this, just said that get overwhelmed easily, and so with the spacious, what you were describing, Campbell, I mean, it's so lovely. But I notice I have these other parts that go, have a little fear maybe with the spaciousness. Yeah, I mean, so it's interesting. And yeah, so I think a lot of my parts are longing for, they're longing, I know this may not be non-dual, but they're longing for like a connection with myself. So I guess there is like, maybe I go to IFS rather than dual.
So what about that? Parts, Debbie says, the parts, they're longing for a connection with self. And what would that ideally look like in your system? Is it a sense of intimacy? Is it being seen? Is it like a sense of acceptance and welcoming? Is it a sense of being loved, unconditionally loved? Is it care, tenderness? Is it what is it? What are they? What as we feel into our parts, Debbie, and maybe we can feel this in Debbie as Debbie speaks about her parts that are longing for this connection with self. What are they longing for? What flavor of connection are these parts longing for? What do you find, Debbie, and as we're all with you in this?
For me, a lot of it is somatic. So just feeling that the parts have a sensation. It's not of my presence. And of course, then there would be like the interaction, but more like, that I haven't left them, like the felt sense more than first the felt sense. Yeah.
So what's that? And for all of us, as we hear Debbie say, like maybe all those words I just said, oh, those are nice words, Sid, but that's really not what's going on here. This is about a somatic felt sense. The parts of us that I haven't left them, that this somatic connectedness, presence. How do we all relate to that in our system? And as we hear this in Debbie, with this longing, the clarity of the longing of her parts, do we find that endearing? Do we appreciate that? Do we like, there's a sense of yes in Debbie's system? And again, one of the reasons we do this way is because it can be so much easier to appreciate the parts, the longing in other systems than in our own. And so as we can, how intimately can we really have an endearment with Debbie's parts that are longing for this somatic presence? Can we really celebrate and love them just the way they are and honor them? Can we do that? Can we see them that way? And then what seems to happen, because nothing's foreign to us, right? Nothing that Debbie's describing is foreign. Like we can all find our version of this in us, our parts that are longing for the somatic presence. And for all of us, can we see an endearment in our system? Because like Nicole, for example, she was also describing, there are lots of parts here. And as do any of these parts in us, do they long, like in Debbie's system, for this, just a somatic presence, this connectedness? And can we find endearment with that, or love, or welcoming, or fascination? How's it going in you, Debbie?
It's going, yeah, what you said, I really resonate with. Yeah. It's, yeah. I mean, I don't know if I have anything more to say. My parts are like I'm sensing they're feeling that like I bet like I haven't been there for them, which makes sense, for my whatever.
So how about that line just for everyone, what Debbie just said? My parts feel like I haven't been there for them. How does that resonate in your system? Can you have from David's face? It's like David's like, oh, I know that one. Can you find that there are aspects of you that feel like, where have you been? No, you haven't been there for me. And when we hear that in Debbie's system, or we hear that in ours, can we find the endearingness of that? Oh gosh, I can hear that. Can we hear that? Can we receive that? Can we fully receive that? And lastly, how intimate can we be with that? like in Debbie, when you hear your part saying, you haven't been there for me. Where have you been? You've left me alone. I don't have that connectedness. How intimate can we be with that, with those parts, with that expression?
Yeah, thank you.
Mm.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Debbie. Woo! That was a lot. Woo! That was a lot. That was a lot. And just before we go to Nicole and just Campbell, who's new with us, so if we have time, we do a little dive in with like all these themes, and we'll see if there's time because we don't want to miss. Like we're really, for me, we're getting it. Each of us are kind of taking the rest of us on a dive through their system.
Sid, I just
On
want to
this
let you
journey.
know, I'm sorry, I just need to let you know that I need to leave at 8:10 or 8:10 my time. Okay.
Yes, David has to go at the hour. Okay, so we have 5 more minutes with David and 15 more minutes with Debbie, and so everybody like enjoy the most out of them because they're going to be disappearing soon. And so we've got David. Before we kind of go to Nicole and Mary Lee, give us a little more David since we've only got a few more minutes with you. If there's anything there that would like to be shared. Oh, muted.
There we go. It all got real smooth, like silk or butter, just like shoosh, kind of all passing in and through and around. And so, yeah, it's the easiness of allowing flow to happen. Uh, everybody's expression moving in and around and through. I liked it. I liked it a lot. So yeah, good. Thanks. Love y'all.
Hey, David. Just how about that for all the ease of allowing flow to happen? Do we know flow? This is David speaking of. How do you know it? What is that for you? Like flow, ease of flow. Thank you, David. And is there anything else bubbling for us from what Debbie and David shared before we go to Nicole? Anything bubbling in us? Or Debbie, as we're gonna lose you, and as you'll be leaving, we got another 12 minutes with you. Is there anything else you'd like to share? No.
Thank you. No, thank you.
All right. So as we transition to Nicole's system, as Nicole shared, there were lots of parts here. Are you with me? Like so curious? It's like we get to open a door. Like, what are those parts? It's almost like turning on a movie or something. What are those parts? What's going to be there? And are any of them going to be a surprise to us? And am I going to be able to relate to all of them? Like, will I be able to resonate and find, I've got this one, I've got this one, I've got this one, or some of them going to be brand new? Wow, I hadn't realized that part. I can find that now. What's going to be there? Hey, Nicole, what's happening?
Whoa, Sid. um, So I've been dealing with some health issues. So I've got this fearful part, and I've got this worry part, and I've got this other part that says everything's gonna be okay. And then I've got my smooth lake that just kind of is this calm background. And then I've got this part that says I don't want to die. I'm not ready to go yet. Not to be a bummer or anything, but that's what's there.
Oh, it's a bit of a bummer. It's like the richness of what Nicole's opening for us with those parts. Expression of life. You really hear her, feel her, resonate with her, notice these. Oh, hi, David. As we are really being with what Nicole shared, what's that like in all of us? And when she says, bummer, does that just like not even translate? It's like when someone's showing us beauty. And we hear in response to health issues that there's a fearful part. Do we all know that in our systems? Fearful part. And when we hear of Nicole's fearful part, does it not just evoke compassion, love, connection, care? Notice what's evoked in you as you hear that. And she has a worried part. As we hear her worried part, notice what's evoked in you. Worried part. Even find the endearment, the sweetness. This worried part is kind of serving life, taking care of, and that concern. And can we find that in our systems too? A worried part when it comes to our health. Do we know that? And how intimately can we be with these parts? Can we be with as we hear these parts in Nicole, or we resonate with them in our own system, the worried part? And then do we also know this voice, all will be okay? Do we know a voice that maybe it's trying to help? Maybe it's a protector part. Maybe it's a wise part. All will be okay as we hear that in Nicole's system. We really hear that in Nicole's system, that all will be okay, and know it in our own. And Nicole speaks of these parts arising in a space, a background of a calm, smooth lake. Calm, smooth lake. Even in the midst of these parts, and there's one more part. Even in the midst of these parts, they're all arising in. There's a concurrence, simultaneous awareness, calm, smooth lake. As you hear her speak of, point to, or just her being, as you resonate with that calm, smooth lake, what's that like inside of you? Is there an enjoyment in relaxing and knowing this? And one more question about the calm, smooth lake for all of us. Is it something we're aware of, or are we aware as? Aware of this small, calm, smooth lake. Are we aware as it? Nicole mentioned a fourth part. I don't want to die. We hear that part in her. How do we respond? And for some of us, it might touch something uncomfortable inside. A protector part might come up. You're like, whoa, I don't know if I want to go there. I don't know if I want to feel that. I don't want to feel that, because if I feel that, really being with that intimately, Nicole, it might touch that in me. And is that okay? Can we love that? There's no way, we're not trying to go anywhere. This is the pathless path. We're just being here, celebrating what's here and honoring what's here. There's no place we need to go. There's no need to get closer to that or touch it. But just to notice what arises as we hear this part in Nicole, I don't want to die. How's it going? How's it going, Nicole?
Yeah, it's so good to have the parts named and recognized. It just feels like this is what I needed, to have those parts recognized and to be in a community of people who get it. Who get it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
I'd like to check one more thing, Nicole, just because there's also some vulnerability in speaking for your parts and sharing what's happening in you with us. Let me check and see if it's if it's okay, because often in my system when I share, like, okay, if you want to know what's really going on, let me tell you, and then I have a part like, Sid, are you crazy? Why'd you do that? That's not safe. That's not okay. Maybe you're going to be judged. Maybe this is going to happen. I'm going to judge you for doing this. So why did you do that? And I'm just wanting to check and see how you're doing with it. What comes up in you, if there's anything you'd like to share. I don't want to put the spotlight on you, but I'm just wanting that for us all to be supported in our time together. Anything there you'd like to share?
No, that's good. I used to have a lot of that. I used to have a lot of that where I couldn't speak about how I was feeling and I'd be critical of myself afterwards. But I think I know how to work with those parts now, that they're not so angry and frightened. Yeah.
Thank
And what
you.
Debbie said about my parts have not felt safe with me in the past, but they're getting recognized now. So things are getting better.
Thank you, Nicole. Just like for all of us, you feel the presence here as we're all being with Nicole. The care, the love, the acceptance, the welcoming. I'd like to be in this field together. What's it like for your parts, for all of us? And what's it like? Just like Nicole, she was saying, it was helpful, just being seen, having these parts of me, what's arising, what's here, to be seen, to be heard. We have parts like that. It's like, gosh, I'm so in awe of what Nicole just did, to share the way she shared and for her parts to be seen. Do we have parts that are like, I want that too? I want that too. Hey, Nicole, will you help me do that? Do we have parts that are like, wow, I wish I could speak for parts that way and share, let them be seen and heard. Parts that would like that. I'm wondering as we transitioned to Mary Lease, there's so much there. And I'm wondering for Campbell, do you have like a minute of something that might be nice to transition with us? And please feel free to pass. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but it's also fun putting you on the spot.
What's coming to my mind is to inhale and reach the arms up if it feels good, and then exhale, toss them down, and maybe with a little quick exhale sigh, maybe even a little it can be loud if the environment allows. Notice what's in the wake of that release.
Thank you. Before we go to Mary Lease, is there anything that's bubbling and that's touched in you that wants to be shared, and just the richness of Nicole? Anything that's like, no, said I need to say this, or I'd like to say this? Anything there before we transition to Mary Lease? Everybody doing all right? Here we are, the six of us. This beingness, this presence, this connectedness. What's it like for our parts? Are They feeling welcomed, feeling accepted, feeling a spaciousness or a groundedness, flow. This is, I don't know if y'all ever done this, like jumping for, I used to go to theaters and I was a really bad kid. I would like go to a movie, then I'd like sneak into another one and another one and another one and bounce around. And it's like, I almost feel that like today we're about to go to the Mary Lease feature of what's here, of like her magnificent self and the parts that are moving, everything that's arising in her. What's the theme of that feature? What are the main characters? Mary Lease, let's tell us about you. What's happening?
Ooh, I don't know if I can. It's been such a journey for me. This session, like going through all the different people and what they shared, and I was already halfway through. I was like, I don't know if I could, what I would say if someone asked me to say something right now. And now at the end, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. It's
Pause for a moment as Mary Lease is going in her not knowing, as we're all becoming, exploring this true nature, this beingness. What are you finding here in Mary Lease? What gifts are you receiving in her beingness and where she's abiding right now? How does that resonate in your system? And what does it help you deeper know as true nature beingness? Back to you, Mary Lease.
yeah, well, yeah, I kind of came here today already full of celebration of just how much like more trust there seems to be in my parts towards tell for me and how even though this weekend some very challenging things happened, like I found my way back each time. It took a bit of time, but I did. And it was it's almost like I came today to celebrate almost. Like for me, coming to this session was like an act of celebration in a way, like just wanting to, yeah, celebrate the richness of what I have received from coming here. Yeah, and then I've been kind of noticing during this session how there's been all kinds of different things coming up, like in response to what someone shares or just my own thoughts kind of wandering off somewhere. And I guess what I've found been amazed at is just how much can shift within such a short time span. And how I've just kind of been able to, I guess, flow with all of that. Like just like this thing
Mm.
comes and that thing comes, and maybe there is a question like, oh, is this okay that this thing comes? But then as I stay with it, I know that yes, it is okay. And then can all just kind of be there. And then the next thing comes, it doesn't stay there for long. When, at least I guess when welcome, they don't stay there for very long. Then there's the next thing, and then there's the next thing, and they just, and it's just so beautiful. It's like, it really does feel like bliss. Remember that word from Friday? Someone said that. It's like when yeah, it's just, it's just beautiful. There's so much gratitude.
This is for all of us as we're being with Mary Lise. What gifts are we able to receive from Mary Lise today? It's like some of these facilitators, they say, highest, the most wonderful form of this is the silence. And if we need to, we can say words. It's that Mary Lisa's being, that she's expressing. And then to notice our parts that make sense of it. Might want something, the ones that keep coming, rising that she speaks of. And they just kind of flow, go away, fall back in, coming back, returning back. Relate to that as she was describing this in her system. Let me just check and see before we go back to Mary Lise. Is there anything that would like to be shared that's bubbling up for anyone in what she's been giving us here today?
I have some part that wants to celebrate more and feels inspired by your celebrating, Mary Lise.
What is celebration? That there's like an absence of lack in celebration. It's like, oh, here we are. It's celebration. It's a fullness, place of fulfillment, okayness. This that Campbell was describing that was kind of coming out of her arms, this overflowingness, this opening, celebration. And Mary Lise was describing almost like a bliss in this beingness, a bliss. how do we know that? Or do we have a different word for it? Is it joy? Is it vibration? Is it openness? Mary Lisa, is there anything else there that is there to speak? As I think you'll be our grand closure of today, because why go any place else other than the beauty of this?
Well, as I sense into this now, there's some part of it that almost feels a bit overwhelming, or maybe there's something still wanting to be expressed from all the times when I haven't been. So haven't been able to do this or be like this, or so there's maybe some flavor of sadness that I'm also now aware of, like maybe like a bit of a lump at the back of my throat or something. It's like mm, and maybe some kind of feeling of incredulousness, like, is this really possible? Like some part of me just waiting for it to go away or something. Or I think the wonderful thing is, from why I came here celebrating, is that I'm growing the trust that I can find my way back. It's yeah. I can feel now a lot of feelings coming up after sharing and putting words to this. Yeah.
Notice for your system, and I also wanted to include Nicole in this, in the parts that are coming up, the feelings that are coming up. 2 minutes. Oh, 2 more minutes with Campbell. We'll see. We'll close then. Just for, are they okay? Are our parts okay? There's a vulnerability. What Mary Lisa, this exquisite vulnerability that you're sharing, and Nicole, the exquisite vulnerability you shared in speaking for your parts. Anything okay? Is there a sense of okayness here? Nicole, is there anything you'd like to share in speaking for your parts as we close?
Just gratitude, Sid. Just gratitude. I always feel like I've been on a emotional marathon after these sessions, and it feels so good.
Thank you. Thank you for the gifts that you shared with us today. Campbell, as we have another 30 seconds with you, any kind of final words, everything okay in Campbell? And
There's a fullness. The heart has a fullness that's very, I don't know the word. The only words that come are full in a nice way. So I'm really appreciating each of you. It's like you're filling me. I'm receiving a fullness. and being together. Thank you,
Oh,
Sid.
thank you, Campbell. Mary, everything else, everything that going all right there? Any kind of final words? Everything okay?
No, just glad to be here with everybody and appreciating my parts through everybody, through Nicole and Mary Lise being open. And it's like, yeah, that's takes courage and inspirational. So thank y'all.
Mhm. And Mary Lise, will you give us our final words of closure today, or perhaps it's just silence?
Yeah, there's a lot of gratitude. There's a bunch of stuff happening that I'm not gonna try to put into words right now. Yeah. A lot of, yeah. Richness.
Everyone. Rich and